It's really nice that we can sit down, take a few moments out of our work and just visit. That's a luxury, isn't it?
It makes me think, wow, to sit down with my daughter and talk about, we live such lives of so many wonders of God.
We really do.
Constantly.
We really do.
Who has time to talk about it?
We're trying to do better.
So we just said we're going to stop and talk about it.
That's right.
Wow.
And through our website, we are able now to so easily bring together reports and stories, some of the things that we see, we experience.
Wow.
But how do we get the news out? As Papa says, we're busy doing it. So we're anxious to share these things with you, and we're glad that you just sit down and visit with us, be part of our conversation, and you'll get to hear things that we don't tell others because we're too busy doing to just keep reporting on the wonderful things of God.
I was going to say you don't have time.
Don't have time.
You do it, but you haven't got time to talk about it.
That's right.
But talking about it's wonderful.
It is. We've learned that often it's the stories we tell that we actually remember because we see too many things to remember.
The old prophet F.F. Bosworth told me many, many years ago, he said, I only remember the miracles that I tell about. If I tell about it, I can remember it. But if I don't tell about it, and he was a miracle man, for so many years.
There's a lesson in that, isn't there?
Yeah, it's really true.
That the wonders of God, the miracles that God does day by day in our lives, to find opportunities to tell our families, tell our neighbors, not just enjoy the blessings of God, but to tell about it. That burns it in our own consciousness that God is at work with us all the time.
So many times when I'm on a platform before a sea of people, I think, I wish I could bring all of the people who have helped us do this together and see this.
Yes.
You got to see this. You can't tell it. You look out there among the people, and there's blind people sitting on the ground. There's deaf people. There's mamas with their little babies. That gets me.
Oh my!
I don't take that for granted. They're not just things that I'm coming to preach to. No.
And they've made such an effort to come.
Yeah.
Some traveled far. Some have had to be carried. Some have come on the back of motorcycles.
Oh.
So their journey, even before they arrive, and they look so helpless when we see them, but they have made a great effort to come. To hear.
And something that I think is very, very vital for all of us to remember. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Bible, 4 Gospels. They are Gospels. What are they? Of what do they consist? They consist of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John telling how they saw the Lord, what they saw him do, what he did for them. And when it was put in the Bible, it was called Gospels. Well, that makes me think a lot of thoughts. I've got a lot of Gospels canned away in our different rooms. My goodness.
Do you remember this?
How
many decades of ministry had you lived before you had that thought?
Spin that so they can see that.
Look at this. This is a pictorial called The Gospel According to T.L. and Daisy. And it records all the early years up to probably the 1980s of their ministry. Look at all of these pictures. The experiences that they had when they were young, first starting out. I love this, but that's what you're talking about.
Is there any difference in a miracle is there any difference in the wonder of a miracle that God did then with Mark or when he did here with LaDonna?
I believe there's no difference.
TL. No difference.
No difference.
We're living the gospel. I don't want anyone to misunderstand me, but we're creating the gospel. I mean, our gospel, That's a big one. Our gospel, isn't it as important as Mark's gospel? Because they preached it, and they wrote it, and they published it.
Yes.
And the world has respected it, and here we are still going, making some more.
That's right.
Well, what's the difference in Mark telling the people about the gospel and in Dr. LaDonna telling the people about the gospel? What's the difference?
Well, see, it's gospel.
The subject is the same.
Yes, it's gospel because it's about Jesus.
Wow.
It is good news. If we were trying to create another message or make our life story something different than what Christ did through his apostles or through his own earthly ministry, that would be different. But that's why there is such power. Papa, let me add to your thought on this. You know the power of the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John gospel. When you tell the stories like we do all over the world, people hear it and they do those same things and receive their miracle. There's power in those stories.
Yes.
Every time you tell stories of miracles that have happened in any country, whether it happened in the 40s or 50s or just 2011, you are seeing the same miracles that happen as people hear the miracles, they hear the testimonies, and they believe in Christ, and then they're healed. So the power is in the telling of Christ through the story.
That's right. That's telling the gospel.
Yes, it's powerful.
And there's power in the preaching of the gospel, Paul said.